talking about?
I'm desperately trying to look on the website for that, and the honest answer is I don't know, but I'll try and answer that on the
I've seen all kinds of front ends to that. I mean, for cron jobs, for example, lots of people they don't really know the syntax and don't really know what the numbers refer to, and they prefer to have some sort of a diary and just click things around and knowing that the things will be scheduled to take place. In the case of videos, it's not really hard to do that, but if you don't know the options and you don't know the abbreviations, it's easier if you just click some buttons and let something construct the commands for you and do the rest of it. And then you can, of course, do it from the outside. You can also save the commands and use it in a different program.
Sorry, I have the list here. I don't think it uses MPEG. I'm looking at the list now of the libraries that it does use. No, I'll stick that on the show notes because it might be of interest to a few people who are looking at doing any sort of encoding from a DVD or a Blu-ray, which is quite unique. So I don't think there's a lot of packages, even commercial packages out there that support Blu-ray at the moment. If I could just add though, Roy, on the same subject, there's a package which it annoys me because this gets overlooked so often. I follow DistroWatch very closely and quite a few other sites that highlight the Linux free software. And it never gets mentioned, and it's called, and this is another one of these titles where I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I'll link it in the show notes so you can see for yourself. It's a Vidimux, absolutely fantastic little package.
I have it installed.
Oh, you have it as well? Yeah. Why?
Yeah,
Nobody ever seems to mention it. Now, for those people that haven't tried it, literally you can throw any video file into this, and you can cut it up and paste around, mess around with it, re-encode it to another format. It's absolutely fantastic.
I could never get it to work to right. The reason I got it in the first place is because I wanted to convert some videos of cardiac sequences to images, and this was the one with functionality necessary. The one time when I actually tried to do something different with it, slicing some video into different parts, it was almost encoded it, but you just put it in the wrong speed. It was just like twice as fast, which was very funny.
What version are you running, Roy?
I can check now.
I've got 2.5.4. That's a 2010 release. I believe that's the latest one.
Yeah, it's still being developed very actively.
I've had going off memory.
2.5.2.
Well, going off memory, I think I've had about 2 or 3 updates in the last year. I could be wrong, but I'm sure I've seen it updated a few times, and it's fantastic. I mean, for me, it works flawlessly. The nice thing about it is that I found is that I had a home movie when we went away to Poole, and I want to just cut out some segments. And what I can do is literally show the timeline, and then just tag each part of the thing I want cutting, start and end, and then just lift them out and put them into one video file and paste them all together. And it was all done automatically. It's a really fantastic piece of software for people who haven't checked it out. Take a look in your repos, see if it's there, and if not, get over to the site, which I will link on the show notes, because it really is fantastic. The only thing that I've seen very similar that is as effective was this old Windows package which I used to use, which I believe is called something like TMPEG encode or something, or Temping code, or Tempink I think it was, which was a shareware piece of software, and Avidmux is free, and it still is actively developed, so check that one out because it's very good. Sorry, Roy, I'll let you.
The release of Wine has been missed by lots of sites. I only found out about it today, but it goes back. I think it was released on Friday, to be honest. Yes, it was released on Friday. It's 1.3.14. And I think the folks from the group which develops wines have been, well, I don't want to say things incorrectly, but as I understand it, they merged 2 elements or something they were marketing. I'm not sure what the product was or what the trademark was. One of them was kind of showing itself to be acquiring one other part, because they have all those spin-offs and they have all those companies which try to make use of wine to create something, a crossover office and Sadigo, or is it called Sadigo?
I don't know
how to pronounce that. And some of them kind of disappear, some of them kind of get very quiet, and some of them kind of merge, and you don't really know how to relate to one another, because this whole branch of things which are based on wine is a bit complex to me personally. I think you have about 5 or 6 things, and the way they relate to one another, and what they put upstream, and what they make available to you, so that you can basically run Windows programs in BSD or in Linux or in some cases Solaris. It's really, for me, it's quite hard to keep track of that. And I basically don't use Wine all that much, but I think we had this discussion before.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, if we'd been running this show in 2006, 2007, I think we'd be quite excited by a new release of Wine. I think a lot of people would be very interested. I think it's a testament now to sort of the irrelevance of Windows on the desktop, the fact that a new version of Wine can come and go with very little noise. Now, I'd like just to say, sorry, Roy, that I'm not knocking Wine. Wine is a fantastic package, and if you have a Windows piece of software that you must run and have Linux as well, well then, it's absolutely brilliant. But I think it's showing now that maybe the hunger, if that's the right word, for running Windows software is really a thing of the past, because there's so many alternatives, free alternatives, with Linux, that really it's a bit irrelevant. You'd be a bit silly now to choose a Windows binary over a Linux variant, because there's so much choice out there now and so many decent packages. Sorry, Roy.
I was just going to say, if you go back about 5-6 years, even just doing your banking with something like Firefox was barely around at the time. It was just coming into being known or being recognized by some banks. But you would have to use something like Explorer just to access your account. So some people would have a dual boot machine, and some people would be very excited by what came out of Wine, as far as I know. The ability to run Internet Explorer in Linux, and I cannot remember the names of the packages that existed for it, but this was a hot thing at the time. You no longer hear anything about it, because nobody would conceivably want to run that. You know, you have Chrome, you have Mozilla Firefox, you have lots of things which would be tolerated by just about any site which doesn't strictly insist on you using this one specific browser. Like it used to be back in the days. And it's interesting because what you have now is a package that's improving to the point where they brag about running just about any Windows application. And maybe except for very complicated things or things which involve some unusual, 3D effects or design things in 3D maybe. I don't think AutoCAD runs well with Wine. I think I would know if it ran smoothly by now. And this is one of those so-called killer applications that you might want to run in Linux. But anyway, the games is still a bit of an issue, but that's a little more to do with hardware acceleration now than to do with Wine, because once you go into the game, it's not so much to do with Windows interfaces, it's more to do with whatever the person wrote the game did. With all kinds of game engines and whatever. So even though it's improved so much, we don't quite need Wine anymore, because I don't really think lots of people use Linux now to run even Office. Even if you look at things like the gaps between Microsoft Office and the Office suites in Linux, I mean, Microsoft has barely improved so many things. I mean, what they do now is they move to the so-called cloud. This is seriously one of the features they brag about now in version 2010 or 2007. It's like, well, you can go to the cloud. You can use this Office 365, or they used to call it BeepCalls, which wasn't a very good name, and they changed that. And once they do that, they basically say, oh, well, you can also go to the web and use an Office suite. Well, I can do that in Linux as well. Why should I buy Microsoft Office?
I mean, if I can just interject very quickly, just going back for the purposes of a bit completion, the Wine was always seen, or as I interpreted it, as the main draw to Wine was the fact that you could play Windows Windows games on Linux. That was one of the main draws, certainly for the mainstream audience. Yeah, we're in 2011 now, and we're seeing that the console market has actually taken away, I think, a lot of the demand for PC games. People don't want to have to pay thousands of pounds to keep their PC up to the highest spec possible just to get the things to run on a PC. And also then you've got the plethora of problems and batch files and scripts and plugins that you've got to add on to get the particular software to work with your hardware when you find that your graphics card is so new that one of the latest games won't play it. Just related to that though, you look at recently on Torrent Freak, they had a mention about Crysis 2, a game for the PC, and it was leaked onto BitTorrent. And of course, we'll ignore the cries of piracy and all that because we've covered this subject so many times. But I think now this is maybe one of the reasons why we're not so excited. We're not so